Hello and welcome to A Bit Above Podcast.
I'm Audra.
And I'm Hadassah, and we are two average women living oceans apart. Our show displays a reachable lifestyle where we work to be better versions of ourselves in our day-to-day life. We know that the constant strive for perfection can lead to anxieties and disappointment, so we make changes that enhance our lives without giving up the things we love. Join us each week as we chat about motherhood, positivity, feel-good stories, relationships, and everything in between. I have something that I've been wanting to talk about for a really long time, but it's not really in our positivity theme, but it's also like real life, so it's not negative, but it's like complaining in a sense.
Or bring into attention something that's not positive.
Oh, it's complaining.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm having issues with like the internet, and I know that sounds dumb, right? But so much that my husband's always on the phone yelling with the internet company every day, and it's just really stressing me out. But here's what really stresses me out here. We pay for 500, is it megabytes, gigahertz? I don't even know what that word is.
Megabytes, I believe.
Oh, okay, whatever. The speed is supposed to be for 500 megahertz. Is that what you said? Whatever. But when we do it like a speed test, it's like the most like 91. 93, something like that. So why are we paying for 500 if we get less, right? Whatever, standard issue. Today, they finally sent a technician over, and you have got to hear what happened. Like, this would never happen in America. Let me just say that. Actually, it might happen in America, but it would be more frowned upon in America than here, okay? When he gets here, so he calls me, I come out and find him, he comes into the house, I show him where things are, and he checks things, whatever, and then he wants to leave. So I'm like, okay, well, are we going to check the speed? Let's check the speed before you go, And he literally looks at me and he was like, I have no energy for people right now.
What? He has no energy for people, but his job is literally to help customers.
This is what he said. I can't even make that up. I mean, he said it in Hebrew, so the words are a little different, but exact translation was, I have no energy for people right now. And I was like, why'd you come to work then?
I'd be like, do you need a coffee? Do you want to go get some coffee and come back?
Oh my God.
Wake yourself up? What is happening?
I called my husband and he was just like, let me talk to him. So then he said to my husband on the phone, I have no energy to talk to people right now. Again. Well, I said, why'd you come to work? Why did you come to work if you don't have the energy for people? I mean, I get it. I've gone to work and not had energy for people, but I didn't tell them, So he didn't fix it. He kept trying to leave. He kept telling me it was my computer's fault. I'm like, how is it that two of my computers plus my iPad plus my phone all have problems, but it's not the problem of the internet?
It must be all your devices individually.
Right? And so that he left. But you know what's funny about the whole thing is that he logged into his back end of the internet stuff on my computer, and I guess my computer auto saved the password. So I can get on I could get on to the back end of my internet and switch the settings and things like that, but I just don't know what any of it means.
So there's some Googling to be had is what it sounds like. Clearly, everything worked out for the greater good then.
I don't know. The Wi-Fi is still the same, but whatever. It's fine, because we have other plans for the Wi-Fi, whatever. Moving on. See, this is why I didn't want to bring it up, because it makes me stressed out, because
you should be stressed. You got to look at it and laugh.
Moving on from there. Before we start the actual episode, let's just go ahead and show our appreciation for the people that are listening to this. I don't know about you, Audra, but I am shocked on how many people we get to talk to. I definitely didn't expect it.
I'm blown away. I thought it's going to be a trickling effect. It's going to take a long period of time, the build up. I mean, this is growing quicker than I imagined. And the amount of people that we get to talk to is crazy.
It's either that or my mom just listens to it on loop. I don't know, maybe.
I love your mom. I just got to meet her. She's fantastic.
If we had just, a few people that we get to talk to, we still feel like we have a voice in things, I mean, we started this podcast for a reason. So we want people to listen and join in on the conversations, and the feedback that we get and we receive in our messages is really supportive and nice. That is so helpful to us, and it really keeps us feeling motivated to keep having these conversations of real life and positivity. Coming up this episode, we'll do a quick update on our Valentine's Day weekend, and then we will dive super deep into the framing Britney Spears documentary that we both just watched. If you listen to podcasts in general, then you surely have heard plenty on this topic of Britney Spears and all that, Free Britney. And if you don't know about what this all is and what we're talking about, or haven't seen the documentary, then don't worry because you didn't have to see it already, and neither is it a spoiler, so you can listen and hopefully afterwards you will want to watch the documentary afterwards.
And definitely if you're in the younger generation, you'll want to do your research and watch for sure. And if you're the older generation, you've already watched this unfold on real TV back when cable was your only provider and this came on. It went across all channels and all channels were displaying the information all at the same time. They interrupted shows. And some of the stuff that is in this documentary certainly did that back in the day.
Before we get to all the crazy stuff, because I know we're both itching to talk about that. We haven't discussed it one bit since we've seen it. And we really, really, really can't wait to talk about it. But let's just talk about our Valentine's Day weekend. So you went away for Valentine's Day. How did that go?
It was amazing. So I didn't go far. I stayed in my state. Heck, I nearly stayed almost in my own town, but I literally was just a town away. It was amazing. It literally was several days of just rest and relaxation. And the actual Valentine's Day, which is the day we came home, we just chilled and it was super relaxing. Yesterday was super relaxing because it was my birthday and I got to do whatever I want. And I got my free drink from Starbucks.
But you got the same drink that you normally get. That's not a birthday drink. That's just a day drink. Come on.
When my drink costs just shy of $6, anytime that I can get it for free, it's a good thing.
I was wondering if you were going to talk about your birthday because you're all oh, I don't celebrate birthdays. But yes, happy birthday.
I don't typically acknowledge my birthday. I guess that sounds a little bit harsh, but usually it's just not acknowledged. It's just kind of one of those things that where you have social anxiety. I don't want to be in the spotlight, but I really must say so many people reached out and maybe it's because I avoided Facebook for 8 years, but I got so many shout outs for my birthday and personal messages. And I got a gift from my daughters as a combined present that just blew me away. I won't say what it is, but it was, not that price needs to be identified, but it was very expensive. And I literally was in shock. And no, I did not get another brand new Coach bag.
Wait, why can't you say what it is?
It's something that they wanted to gift to me because they know that a lot of times I don't purchase some of the big things in life that maybe I need or should have. So I'm very appreciative of everything that I do receive. And this particular gift, I was not going to purchase for myself at all. I was going to make do with what I have because that's how I grew up. And they bought something brand new for me to replace it. And I'm just blown away by it.
Well, I'm glad that your Valentine's Day and your birthday was super special. Mine was nice too. Not my birthday because it wasn't my birthday, but we talked last week about whether or not he was going to remember it. And I did what you said and I threw out some hints to see if he'll pick up on it. And then he did pick up on it. And then he was like, oh, yeah, isn't it Friday? And I was like, come on. What? He literally thought it was Friday. So once we got him squared away to Sunday.
Wait. You could have said it's Friday. And then on Saturday, be like, no, babe, it's today. And then on Sunday, be like, no, really, today's Valentine's Day. You got 3 days.
Yeah. Well, we went to nature and we sat.
You don't go to nature.
What do you mean?
You go outside in nature, but nature is all around you. You don't oh, I just drove over to nature. It's everywhere, Hadassah.
Okay, whatever. We walked because we don't drive, remember? We walked into nature. And it was very nice and calming. And then we ordered takeout food. So that was nice. We got the baby away for a bit. And other than that, it was very relaxing and nice. Let me introduce you to an app that we love called Anchor. Anchor allows you to create and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. We use Anchor to create our podcast and it makes it so easy for us to do. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more places. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Here we go to Framing Britney Spears. So the way we're going to discuss the Framing Britney Spears documentary, it won't be like a play-by-play review because there's a lot of platforms out there right now that are covering this. There's podcasts, there's the actual documentary. But after watching the documentary, I don't know about you, but I felt like I could talk about this every single day, like every podcast. We can even turn it into a Britney podcast, but we won't. But I want to, but we won't. You know what I mean? Like we could, but we were not going to.
Oh, absolutely. I more or less grew up with this story because we're close in age. It literally unfolded before our eyes as like home viewers. And there wasn't anyone who didn't know her name, Britney Spears.
Assuming that the majority of people listening to this already know the story of Britney Spears, and we will cover certain parts, that's for sure. But I just want to get into a real hot second to talk about what is a conservatorship. Okay, I'm sure that's not the right way to say it, and I feel insecure saying it, but it's fine.
No, that's exactly how you say it. A conservatorship is a legal concept where a court appoints a person to manage an incarcerated person or minor's financial and personal affairs. The conservator's duties include overseeing finances, establishing and monitoring the physical care of the conservatee or ward, and managing living arrangements.
Okay, so basically, she has someone running her life, in short, right? So someone else handles her finances, and this is later on in her story, right? But, well, do you want to give a little bit of a background on that?
So Britney's backstory is that she started on Ed McMahon's Star Search, and that led on to Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which I remember watching her, Justin Timberlake, and Christina Aguilera. They were all on it at the same time. Then when the Mickey Mouse Club ended, she went back to regular life. And then she started back in with really trying to get into the music industry. Now, when I say she, I really mean her family, because as much as she wanted to sing and love doing it, pull from the family to get her into that limelight and to make her a singing star, to be, to have fame. In the malls, she would play, and, it goes to show that you get a small group following and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then before you knew it, she blew up all over the music scene. She was everywhere. One video in particular, I think it was Baby One More Time, where she's dressed like a schoolgirl. She did the video in a high school or whatever type of school in the hallway scene. Everyone remembers it. The pom-poms and the pigtails and the hair, the plaid skirt, skirts, whatever it was at the time, and the tight top all tied up, and it showed like a midriff. And then I think that's where it deemed that there was the sexualization to what she was wearing, but she was a typical teenage girl at that point. And it's the 90s. Not that I was super sexualized, let me tell you, but I pretty much wore the same kind of outfits, except for it wasn't tied in a knot. It was just a half shirt because that was the style. Everybody was wearing that kind of stuff back then. But she was on the big screen. So I guess that just went into more people's homes on TV. So they just saw it. Basically, when that all happened, there was a little bit of a scandal, you may remember, of President Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. As that was making headlines, Britney's sexuality came into question across all the news media. It was almost a way to either, one, distract from the conversation about our president or then president, or two, that both situations were regarding a sexual content in nature, but they kind of hyper-focused on Britney more than what was happening with our president. As the media was picking up on the sexuality and defining Britney as being very sexualized and questioning it if she was too sexy, she was coming of age. And just like any teenager, you go through different models. You go from being a little kid to being what everyone quotes as that teenager. And you're like, oh, those teenage years. But you're trying to figure yourself out. You're finding out what you like. You're finding out what you don't like about yourself. You're really trying to hone in on who you are and how you want to be represented as a person, as an adult. So At this time, she basically stopped being a people pleaser, started really being in control of her life because she did have a voice of her own and really wanted to make sure that it was heard. Now, while all this is going on and things are progressing, she was dating the now well-known star Justin Timberlake. And that was all over the media. They were like a powerhouse couple before powerhouse couples were ever a thing, I feel like, and everyone's like, they're so perfect for each other. These two kids have got it great. They're in the Mickey Mouse Club, which was synonymous with good kids, doing good things for good people. Then they broke up. And then it just went downhill, and it didn't go downhill in a way that it should have. I mean, if a kid breaks up with another kid, you get through that hurdle. Well, hers was all over the media, and so was his. And they were music stars. In fact, Justin actually had a song, Cry Me a River. He released it shortly after the breakup, and everyone was like, this is because Britney did something to him. And then everyone started questioning her on, what did you do to make it so that you guys broke up? They had no idea what the story was. They don't know why they broke up. I mean, there's like a billion reasons why people break up, right? So that gets displayed all over the place. And in the documentary, and it's not a spoiler because it has been said on media, the then governor of Maryland's wife literally is recorded saying, if she were to see her, that she would shoot her. Okay. Imagine nowadays anybody talking about that, saying that to anyone on any platform, period. Just let that sink in of how far we've come from the 90s till now. So Justin's song really brought to light controversy on, did Britney cheat on Justin? Is that why they broke up? Did Britney, she was so sexualized. She was deemed all these other negative words. So maybe that was her persona. Well, that's at least how it was portrayed in social media. But Britney never really actually said her side of the story. Not that I can recall or that I could even research as her coming out publicly and saying too much about it. So then a little bit of time goes by and she gets together with Kevin Federline. Seems kind of abrupt. Again, who knows? She marries him. She ended up having her first son. There is video of her with the baby on her lap in the driver's seat, which she was running from paparazzi when she was questioned, why did you do that? We have video. Paparazzi was all over her 24/7. And she said, the thought was her dad did that with her when she was little. I know back in the day in our state, we did not have seatbelt laws. So we were bouncing all over the vehicles back in the day. But was it unsafe to have a maybe around 6-month-old baby in the front seat with her? Maybe. Absolutely. Could Kevin, who was sitting next to her, have taken the baby and put the baby in his lap? Not that it would have been any better, but yes. But she literally was scared due to the paparazzi, which I can totally stand behind. She goes and has a second baby. A couple of weeks after she has her second baby, she files for divorce from Kevin. I think he also filed too, but that part you can look up. Then Britney kind of connects with Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan for a night out. Paparazzi catches that. Britney's trying to have like a girls' night out, maybe a couple of them, because she's had 2 kids. Maybe she has postpartum depression. Maybe she's just been cooped up for a while and she wants to get out like any normal human being would, especially any mom. So the paparazzi make that into a thing. Like she has this partying lifestyle, which even if she did for a hot minute, who really cares? But the paparazzi were 100% in my eyes too close for comfort. I mean, they were banging on her windows. I mean, she couldn't walk anywhere without people having to be pushed out of the way. There was one time where paparazzi were getting into a fight right next to where she was. I mean, can you imagine that? She was able to compose herself. I wouldn't have been able to compose myself. I would have freaked out if somebody decided to have a fist fight right next to me and I'm just merely trying to get to a vehicle or to a door to a building. So basically, paparazzi's defining her into a partier. And in 2007, Britney goes into a salon. The salon personnel has said, no, they're not going to do what she requested. And what she requested was that they shave her head. So Britney took a razor herself and started to shave her head. And she shaved the whole thing. And it was questionable on whether that was her way of saying that she was quitting the limelight, or was she making a statement, in my opinion, to the public as an outcry for personal space. Being bald, was that considered unattractive? So if you took away this persona of beauty and the sexualization that was thrown upon her, maybe if she made herself less sexualized, they would stop following her. We'll never know. It wasn't discussed on why. They just had like these crazy videos. One guy was even in there saying how he followed her and said he was only going to ask her a couple of questions when they went to a gas station. She was with her cousin in the car, and the cousin ran in probably to the gas station because you couldn't pay at the pump back then either. And Britney's left in the car, and paparazzi are crazy enough to go up to the car and say, well, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. Well, I'm sorry. I'd be like, no, you're not. And at one point they have video of her getting out, taking an umbrella and kind of smashing it against their vehicle. They went to the gas station right after they had left Kevin Federline's house when she asked to see her kids, and Kevin would not let them in the gate. So here is a very heated, emotional Britney being denied the right to see her children that she loved so much. And then she has the moment with the paparazzi and goes after their vehicle with the umbrella. I would have to say I might have done something very similar. If you're already distraught and you're pushed to the edge, at what point do you break? And if you're constantly having an antagonistic person to push you and push you and push you, you're going to break. I don't care who you are. You're going to break. She broke. Okay. If they're trying to break her, they broke her. And maybe they should take responsibility for that. I'm just saying. She got together with Sam Lufty, who seemed to be all over her stuff. And I guess he kind of did that often to people when they were, he just seemed to be hovering around, like waiting to pick them up. But her mental health was being questioned, and they were curious with what was wrong with her. And shortly after, she ended up with an ambulance trip to the hospital. Another week or so, maybe a couple of weeks went by, and she ended up with a second trip to the hospital. This time, it was in that now famous 5150 hold that nobody knew what it was until it was thrown all over our TV screens, which is an involuntary hold at a psychiatric hospital. Then it was filed to have, and then there was a filing for temporary conservatorship, which the term undue influence was used. They believed that Sam Lufty was an influence on her and that she would possibly give money to people that she shouldn't give money to, or do things in a way that wouldn't be condoned the better way. I won't say the right way because there is no right way, people, but a better way than what she could have done. So that was the reason why they filed a temporary conservatorship. Andrew Wallet played a significant part in this. Don't know exactly who that guy was in the beginning, but he and Jamie were co-conservators of the estate. So the question really became like, who is Andrew Wallet, right? Britney did not want her father to be the conservator of herself and her estate. That is from day one. Flat out, her own words. It's recorded. She did not want her father any part of it. The judge would not allow a certain gentleman, though I forgot his name, to represent her. That's odd, right? If you go into a court and you have somebody to represent, you're paying this person to represent you, and the judge tells you you can't have that particular person represent you, they're going to court appoint you someone to represent you. So that should come into question because that's weird. 2008, the conservatorship is now permanent. Britney has said that she's not being heard. People are listening, but they're not really hearing what she's heard, and that she's sad. Like she has no voice. She's using it. Nobody's listening. 2009, Jamie's got full conservatorship over everything, her money, her estate, her person. He's got her lined up for a tour and doing shows everywhere. Jamie gets 1.5% of all royalties across the board on everything, which is interesting when you're now making millions. Britney was at this point for shows making $1 million a week. Britney goes to Instagram, but the posts that she was making started to give kind of clues really to how maybe she was really feeling. The co-conservator, Andrew, asked for an increase just a little bit ago. And they actually said when he asked for an increase to use it as a hybrid business model. Who uses a hybrid business model term when you're talking about conservatorship over a human being? That's not a business model. We're not in the business to take over people's lives. It is more like a right, a financial decision maker. Shortly after Britney appears to do her Vegas residency, she went there, said not a word to anyone, and was ushered from the stage where she appeared for her residency to a vehicle. Everyone thought that was odd. She didn't say, hey, I'm starting my residency here. There was all this hype up for her. Not a word. Went straight to her vehicle, and everyone's like, what just happened? Why did we all come out here? She didn't even say she was having her residency. And just like a couple weeks later, on January 4th of 2019, canceled her residency and states it's due to her father's health. Her father's health, okay? From January 4th, Britney goes MIA. No one has seen her. No one has heard from her. No one knows where she is. Andrew Wallet abruptly quits. Gone. He's no longer involved. Now, he was the co-conservator and he's out, okay? They finally make a statement about Britney several weeks later, saying that she needed me time on her Instagram. She used the old school smiley face with the the colon and the parenthesis. Not normal. So it kind of gave way to people to say something's up. Somebody else typed this on her account because that's not her. She would have had a true emoji. So her me time equated to finding out that she's actually in a mental health institute and has been since mid-January, involuntarily submitted into the hospital. Britney herself did not walk in there and go, I need to have psychiatric care and be reviewed. At that point, the whole Free Britney movement came to light, and Kevin Federline ended up having a restraining order against Jamie regarding a situation with his son, Britney's son, as well. I mean, obviously there's something to be said there. So Britney said it was due to her dad's health. They ended up putting her in for her health, supposedly. And now there's a situation with Jamie going after Britney's son and Kevin saying, oh, heck no, and having a restraining order against him. Britney's already stated previously she was afraid of her father for whatever reason. They didn't disclose, but she did use the term she is afraid of him. In August of 2020, just last year, Britney wanted a bank to be the conservator over her money. February 11th, just a few days ago, Britney's father loses his bid to retain control of delegating her investments, according to NBCnews.com. Finally, Jamie is no longer in possession of controlling Britney.
Does she still have a conservator or conservator?
The bank is the conservator over her financial situation.
Okay.
Yeah. Another hearing is scheduled to take place next month as well.
Ugh, I have so many questions. Wait. Before we get into the things, right? All the things. But if the bank has control over the finances now, does that mean that they get to control like what she does with her career and like what she does on her social media and like what she says? Like what?
No, but I believe what happens right now is that everything's like on a hold. I know that Lynn Spears, her mom, has asked to be conservator over her person, basically replacing her dad with her mom. And her mom's been right by her side. It's sad that Britney is nearly 40 years old and has to still be controlled by others when she clearly has her own thoughts and emotions and what she wants and what's good and what's not good, which is, I guess, what was probably in question 12 years ago when this started. Maybe she made some bad decisions. Maybe it was portrayed that she was way more worse than really what she was. You know what I mean? Like we said, there was a lot of things that happened to her all at once. Anybody in that situation would have had the same kind of reactions. And I hate to say it, but if a guy, which we've known plenty of them since 12 years ago, have had these situations in nowadays society, none of this would be here. None of it. No conservatorship, no questioning, nothing.
In the beginning of the documentary, what they had talked about was how she took so much control over her music and her art and her creativity or whatever it is. And just watching that part just made me feel empowered just to see her. if she would have had her start in 2021, we'd have a whole different conversation. She'd be right alongside the women nowadays in music that display like sexiness and they display confidence and strong female empowerment. And she would have been right alongside there. But I grew up even hearing her name associated with like words like slut or whore. And I hate saying those in with her, but that's how the media portrayed her. And how many media outlets, even when she was a minor, were asking about her boobs or asking about her sexy, quote unquote, sexy lifestyle. When, I mean, she responded to one of them saying like, I mean, not in these exact words, but like, tell me that a woman wouldn't want to feel sexy. Like, replace the word sexy with confident. Replace the word sexy with desirable. What's wrong with that?
Some of the things that we've all seen with celebrities, and we're kind of like, wow, that outfit's really scandalous, or that action is really scandalous. Like a flip of a switch, we're on to the next thing. Because this was at a time when only certain things are really displayed and caught attention. Now with social media, everything's everywhere. There's so many celebrities who've gone in and out of rehab, driven into people with their vehicles drunk. Do they have conservators? Nope. Are their skills, their lifestyle in question? Nope. So here we have a young girl growing up, trying to figure out who she is, and she gets a conservatorship because social media wasn't a thing back then? Come on.
Well, yeah. I mean, the media teared her apart, and a direct result from that was obviously by people tearing her apart at home as well. You know, maybe we didn't have social media as much to talk about it, or, I mean, I definitely didn't have it. I was a very small child, but, you know, but I can't even imagine. In the documentary, it said how she would receive a room full of letters, literally that would fill up a room. I can't even imagine how many of them were hate letters or death threats. And just a direct result from the media is what we are going to assume things about people. And we've seen that time and time again. And it just shows two things that basically every person should know and probably already do. And that one, the media will define how you will view every situation, basically. I mean, you're in control on what media you see, that's for sure. And two is how people are online, and bringing it to nowadays, you know, because maybe back in the day, the online presence was different, but the story still goes on, right? And we're trying to better our lives and better our society nowadays. And it is said that people will hide behind the computer in order to say the things that they wouldn't say in real life, you know? Maybe it's because they feel that they have some sort of like anonymity online, but that was in a time where people would be one way in real life. Like most of the people in your life, you would know in your personal physical life, and then online would be something different. But nowadays, online is our society. We see more people online than we do in our personal days, especially with COVID. But I mean, even before, I mean, we're all more mobile. We're all moving out to different places. We're online, and you're now judged on your activity online. And when you're in person, you can choose how you want to be. When you see something that you don't like online in a person, let's say something they said or something that they did, there are different ways to go about it. You can keep scrolling, right? You see something you don't like, you can keep scrolling. In those days, you can just switch the news channel. Okay. You can even state your opinion. No one said you can't share your opinion on things. Or you can put someone else's opinion down just to make yourself good. And that's another option, but that's not okay. But if you choose that option, you need to afterwards hold yourself accountable for your actions. So you can say, this person said this, or this person did this, and she deserves to be put into her place, let's say, hypothetically. So whatever you choose to say moving forward, you still have accountability for that, even if they quote unquote deserve it. When you go to sleep at night, like, do you even see how you handled the people? Like, do you see what your actions did? So who's worse, you or the person that you're talking about? And I cannot imagine what would have been like if Instagram was around in 2007 and 2008.
It would have either been like it is now, just a hot second of a conversation because it's so normal, or it would have been a longer conversation. But I truly feel like it would be like how things are displayed now. And it is so easy to just dismiss certain things that we see and hear. But let me tell you, online, cyberbullying, personal attacks, people direct attacks into DMs, people attacks on their accounts, whether it's Facebook or others, are not okay by any stretch of the imagination. Everyone has a right to their voice, but when you go the extra mile to go to them directly and forcefully tell them how you feel is wrong. It's not cool. You're not smart. You're not even making a difference. You're literally going to get blocked and ignored. So with Britney's case, if they didn't like that she was too sexualized, they didn't like some of her decisions, she doesn't need a conservator to take over her being, her person, to make those decisions for her. Have a conversation with her. Sit down with her. Let her make the decisions. Okay. See where her headspace is at and go from there. I just don't feel like any of that was done. And if it was done in nowadays society, she may have been more messed up because she would have got those personal DMs and those personal attacks.
I mean, if you go back to what I said about how online society is basically our society these days, would you do that in person? Would you go over there to someone's house? Like, think of a DM being walking into someone's house. I mean, it is the same thing. It's the same thing. We're all online. Our whole culture is online. Maybe things would have been different here. Now I say that the Instagram being around maybe would have made it worse, but it also could have made it better because we would have been more graceful on the mental health side of things, you know, with why did she shave her head? Back then you would have been like, what? Why would she? That's the craziest thing ever. And now we're like, that literally screams mental health.
Absolutely. And there's also the question between mental health and was she trying to desexualize herself so that people would leave her alone? It was a cry for help. So, I mean, in all honesty, she might have been complete sound mind because her greater thought process was, well, if I make myself unattractive, they'll stop following me. They'll stop recording every moment of my life. Was it the best decision? No. But I mean, people shave their head all the time, folks.
Yeah, and she could.
For whatever reason.
She could. Like, even we might not think it's the best decision because her hair is beautiful, whatever it is. I don't know. But people could shave their heads. It's allowed. You're allowed to do whatever you want. Besides for Britney, who cannot now, right? She can't do it. But you might think like, oh, you know, this happened in the 90s, in the early 2000s. But I mean, I was speaking to a friend a couple of days ago who's quitting her job because her boss is sexually harassing her.
Oh,
this is
man.
a few days ago. She is giving up a paycheck because this man thinks that he has control over her because he's her boss and that he can, you know, talk to her or look at her in certain ways when who's trying to be sexualized then? You know, Britney says that, you know, what woman doesn't want to feel sexy? Well, the women that are being sexually harassed probably would rather be invisible.
I can definitely stand behind that. I mean, I think everybody has their own story that is relatable to this concept. People are people and not everyone makes the best decisions. That's for sure. But at some point you really got to wake up and be like, this is wrong. This needs to stop. Some of those people do not feel like it's wrong and they just feel like they're okay to do what they're doing to other people, not realizing how deeply they can really hurt and change this person. Suicide rates are up because people just aren't able to figure out a way to handle some of the I almost cursed. Just handle some of the stuff that gets thrown at them. I think it affects me personally because I have lost a few friends to this and it's annoying. It annoys me that they couldn't find a way to get through it. And it annoys me that it happened to them.
Before we wrap this up, because, right, again, I got lots more things to say, but I'm just going to say one thing more. Okay.
Okay.
And that is before you judge Britney Spears, because I know there is at least one person listening who's like, oh, come on, Britney Spears, like, ain't nobody got time for her, right? This person probably hasn't seen the documentary. She probably still thinks the whole slut and whore word when she thinks of Britney Spears. She probably thinks of all the outfits. You know, it's fine. But if you're listening still, right, because I'm sure you shut the podcast off already. So you're probably not here.
No, they did not.
No, this specific person, I'm not thinking of a specific person, but it's a specific kind of person. She's gone, right? But if you're still here, before you judge Britney and all this stuff and jump to conspiracy theories and all that, right? Ask yourself these questions. What age did your celebrity career start? What was your family like? How many times were you sexually harassed or put down for being a girl or a woman? How did you handle the paparazzi inches away from you, basically wherever you go? And at what age did you lose your rights to see your children? How did you handle it when your children were taken away from you? I'm a mother. You're a mother, Audra. I mean, just go there in your brain for a second, okay? And then leave because it's sad. How did you handle being held against your will in a hospital? How is it like for you to lose all your control in your life? How does it feel to work your bottom off your entire life, basically just for someone else to control your profit? If you can't answer every single one of those questions, then you can't judge her. You can't put yourself in her shoes. And that's basically a lesson for everyone. No matter who it is, no matter what it is, if you can't answer all the questions about someone else's life and relate it to your own, then you can't judge someone else unless you've experienced the same exact life. You can't. You can try to be empathetic to what they're maybe experiencing, but unless you have experienced something, you have all the story and you have all the experiences yourself, you can't judge. So let's stop judging people. Let's stop controlling people and telling them what they should or shouldn't do or what they should or shouldn't say. And let's learn to give people grace and to recognize mental health as the most important thing, because mental health is how life works, whether it's mental healthy or mental illness. Okay. That's still how our life is run. I mean, there is way more things that we want to talk about this. We're not going to, because we can't. We just can't. I mean, we don't have time, right? So
I know. I think it is crazy because we brought it up to do this as a piece, right? And prior to, I didn't even know there was a special about Britney. I think I just vaguely heard something about a free Britney movie. 2 seconds of a thought. And then I thought it was kind of careless that I thought that, now having watched the documentary. And now I'm kind of on board with Free Britney. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here for it. And me and you will have more conversations with that. Maybe we'll bring it up on the podcast in the future for different reasons, but I'm going to do more dive deeping into my internet stalking that I've been doing. But for now, I think we're just going to wrap it up, because there's endless of things that we can say, and with an end of time, there is.
Yeah. And maybe we can come up with, as the updates unfold, maybe we'll keep you guys up to date with them too, every now and again.
Yeah. We can also put it on like social media and share things. But we just appreciate that you sat and like listened to us talk, because we both had lots of feelings for this, and we still do. Our next episode will come out on Friday, so look out for that. We put out episodes every Wednesday and Friday. You can go ahead and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, so that this way you can get notified whenever episodes come out. See, I'm saying this stuff and I'm still on Britney, but we just can't, like, self-control, whatever. Okay. But if
I need to question your mental health, Hadassah.
No, my mental health is fine. Whatever. Okay.
Just kidding. You can find us on social media at abitabovepod, or email us at abitabovepod@gmail.com.
Gosh, I'm trying to continue talking, but I'm still on this Britney stuff. Okay, whatever. Okay.
It's hard. This Britney stuff is hard.
I know. Can we you have to help me with my self-control. You can't keep it going. No. Okay.
I know. But I mean, look, I get that it's hard. So I'm feeling you. It's hard. I feel like we're emotionally invested now. Mm-hmm. And I think the underlying thing here is that when you feel something is wrong, it's wrong.
And speak up.
Speak up. Mm-hmm. Be heard. Yes. I'm so glad we did not plan that. We just said speak up at the same time. That just gave me goosebumps. But be heard. I don't care who you have to say it to, yell it from the rooftops, but be heard.
And don't put someone else down while doing it. Okay. Continuing. Speaking of being heard, we want to give you a voice on our platform. So one of the biggest reasons for starting a podcast, so that we can have a voice, we also wanted to give other people a voice as well. And we want to talk to you, not a celebrity. We want to talk to you. We want to talk to you about your real life things, whether it's a real life common thing or a real life unique thing. We want to hear your story. So you can find us on social media. We're super easy to find, a bit above pod, wherever it is that you have social media. And also email us. We already said the email, but just again, a bit above pod@gmail.com. Share your story with us, because we want to have you on our podcast. So look out for the episode coming out on Friday, and we will see you then.
All right. Have a good week. Bye, guys.